I've been writing this book and thinking about it for a long time, and it's based on the very tragic stories, but also very hopeful stories of three women's ability to overcome tragedy and hardship during the Holocaust. All of the three women were interned in a number of concentration camps, including Auschwitz-Birkenau, and have come out at the end to tell the tale and to describe the experiences that they had and the lives and the hopes that they held on to all those years. So here we are at the launch event, and I'm absolutely delighted that so many people have turned up to support the experiences that these women had, and to support the stories that were based on their Holocaust tragedies. And I think that tonight's event is testimony to the strength of these three women, to the strength of their experiences and their ability to talk about those experiences all these years after that awful event, the Holocaust. The beginning was a chance happening in a restaurant in Cardiff. In the beginning, there was a man who publicly abused my mother and me for talking aloud about the Holocaust. He accused us of putting him off his meal as we sat together discussing the life of Anke Bergman and Eva Clark. Anke Bergman had not long before that conversation become a close friend of my mother's, and she was telling me about the birth of Eva on a coal wagon on the way to Mauthausen. The man taunted us with the words, "What do you know about the Holocaust? You have no right to talk like that in public." I lay awake that night, questioning whether he was right, whether that was indeed the case, that I had no right to discuss the Holocaust in public, an event at which I was not a witness. Those words led to an undertaking on my part to meet Anke and others perhaps like her who had been in the camps, and to do further work and research into these events, and by so doing to lay down personal stories for the shared consciousness of future generations.
Well, I don't know everybody here, but I know a fair number of you as friends of my mother's, and I'd like to say thank you all for being here, and thank you, Frances, for writing this book. It's 7 years in the making, I think I was told, but well worth the wait. And it's really good to have the Holocaust experiences of my mother recorded for posterity, and so beautifully.
Both Anke and I just couldn't believe how accurately and movingly you were able to translate her wartime experiences into poetry, and all the while using her actual words and phrases. I have to confess, poetry had never meant that much to Anke during her school days, and even less as an adult. However, she was totally bowled over by your understanding and poetic interpretation of her experiences in the camps.
Thank you all for coming and supporting Professor Frances Rapport's valuable book, entitled Fragments, Transcribed by the Holocaust, which is a little insight into late Mrs. Anke Bergman and Mrs. Edith Sorter, and my own experiences in Auschwitz and other concentration camps. I am the only survivor out of the three ladies. I do hope it will be an interesting and educational read to you all, the book, and I thank you all for coming.
No, it's a wonderful evening, wonderful event, and I think it was a book that was needed.
Do you?
And I think also that these discriminations and these sort of events happen now as much, but that's why it's more important to remember what happened and celebrate these remarkable women.
Yeah, people said that so much has been written about the Holocaust, but this seems to be different.
I think it is, because it's a personal story.
I love the poetry part of it. That I find is different, and almost brought me to tears reading the start of each chapter and the poetry involved.
Well, it's been a privilege to be here this evening, my colleague Frances to be able to talk about her work, to have so many of those families who are engaged in it, in present and talking to us all. We were all bound up by the emotions and most importantly the method of communicating emotion.